Hello and welcome to the Walk and Love podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Brooke.
And today we're actually going to talk about the Seek Rest collection.
Whoa. I went for the clap.
Who are you?
Do you think they could even hear it though?
Yeah.
You could see it if you were watching.
You were watching.
It was a big clap.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for making us a part of your week. The Walk and Love podcast is a
weekly conversation
between Brooke and I.
Me. I, Brooke. I, Brooke, me, Brooke, he, T.J.
About
T-J.
where we talk about
me. Oh, me?
Yeah.
Marriage? Go ahead.
Rhythms,
Go ahead. Parenting?
faith,
what we Googled?
and we try to find language to live a more.
Joy-filled, full life.
And if you're here for that, appreciate it.
You're in the right place.
You're in the right place at the right time.
I don't think I've ever had, I don't know. That's probably an extreme statement. That's probably not true. But nothing comes to the forefront of my mind when I think about, man, was I at the right place at the right time?
And
I mean, I think like big picture in life and stuff I was, but I'm not like, and I saw a celebrity or I was handed $100 or.
Those are the two things?
I don't know. There's probably other things, but.
What your
do you have
Mount Rushmore?
Oh, goodness.
Of
right place at the right time.
Right place at the right time. What could happen to you
at this stage of my life?
This stage in your life. And let's say, like, obviously, someone's like, hey, do you want $1 million? Let's eliminate that stuff. It's just like, that would be, oh, this is awesome. I can't believe it.
Okay, so I can't be extreme about it.
No.
Like, here's a house.
Yeah.
Here's $1 million.
Because, like, obviously, all of us would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Right
place. But, like, more normal, right place
normal,
at the right time.
Normal life, right place, right time.
Okay, so first thing that comes to let's go every other because it's going to take me a little bit. First thing that comes to mind is I happen to be in or around or near a donut shop and they say, hey, we have all these extra donuts that are gluten-free and in your favorite, some form of peanut butter Oreo flavor.
Okay.
Here, have a few boxes.
Wow,
And I'm just like, what?
That feels like
that
feels like free house.
No, it's
caliber.
not. I was at the right place, the right time.
Mine would be, and this one,
not free house caliber.
This one has happened to me when you're at Chick-fil-A for lunch, but they just stopped serving breakfast, and they're like, "Hey, we have all these extra free breakfast sandwiches," and you're like,
"That's
right
the sweet
place,
spot.
right
You
time,
got to go
baby."
sit inside a Chick-fil-A.
Yep.
When do they switch over? 10 o'clock? 10:30? I forget the
so.
time. Go in and order your lunch, and sit down within like the 5-minute range, and then they have all these breakfast sandwiches they can't sell.
Mm-hmm.
So they start giving them away to people only inside. That's happened more than once.
Yeah.
Oh, these are both about winning free food. Okay.
It's a good one.
Right place, right time.
Well, I feel like at this stage of life,
I'm just like, that's incredible.
Free food. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
Have you seen the cost of it lately?
Have you seen the blueberries? Don't even look at the organic ones.
But you got to get them or else you'll be poisoned to death.
You won't be able to look at them at all. In a few years, she gone. Okay.
She blind by blueberries.
Blinded by the pesticides of non-organic blueberries. I think that happens. Okay. It's number 1, donuts. Number 2.
Oh, I got one.
Go ahead.
Let's just say this.
We might need a collective. I don't know if I have 4.
Sitting on the porch.
Ooh.
And I've got
a plate of
and I got a can of Olipop.
Mm.
And I crack it open and start drinking it. Sunlight hits me. Olipop executive drives by.
No. This is literally the exact scenario. I am not kidding you. This is the exact scenario in which I clarified today life. We're talking about this. Still today, not 5th grade TJ in a Coke ad. Okay.
No, today we need you. And we're not going to pay you in cash.
Oh.
Free lollipop for life.
Nobody needs cash.
Free lollipop for life.
That is the right place at the right time.
That one's an elevated level.
That's an elevated level from a breakfast burrito.
Here's a more realistic one. Right place, right time. Our kids go to bed without getting back up.
Yeah.
I feel like
that's just a great time.
It's just all around time. I always had this. I feel like we're not going to fulfill this Mount Rushmore, but
okay. Well, mine just if I could just admit it, they all revolve. If I can't do big money, They all revolve around food.
Big money.
If I can't back up the money truck, they all revolve around food. I'm on the beach and someone says, hey.
Free hot dogs.
No, hot dog. No. Somebody's like, here's a gluten-free pizza. It's anything gluten-free that gets handed to me. And I'm like, no way. Because so many places don't have it. And so it's just like,
I feel like
it does feel like the right place at the right time. When you see something on the menu, you can have.
It's not meeting anyone.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe there'd be some relationships or connections there.
Yeah. I feel like you should.
I guess that feels more like, no, I think that would really happen.
Yeah. We were at the right place, right time when we went to that movie premiere. We were sitting in Las Vegas.
Maybe that's one time that it would happen.
We looked up and there's a sign. She's out of my league.
Yep.
It was like
premiere.
World premiere.
She's out of my league.
So-and-so date at so-and-so time. And I was like,
that's in 6 minutes.
Should we go? And we walked up, went. All the actors were there.
Yeah.
Good time.
Jay, how do you ever say his last name?
I don't know.
He's the voice of How to Train Your Dragon.
I feel like before we get started today.
We still haven't started.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm recording. Phew.
Do you remember when we did that a couple times?
Yes.
Started talking and didn't record. That was a long time ago. We were in our basement.
I feel
climbing
like
out of windows at that point.
Man, that was a long running joke. You could get out of these windows, no problem.
I don't know if we've ever assessed. Hey, before we get started, I don't think we've ever assessed the windows in this house if we could get in or out.
100% you can get out that one.
I think we could.
It's a side slider.
Aren't all of ours? We don't have any windows that go up.
Yeah.
All of ours are side sliders.
Super easy to get out.
I don't even know if I'd need a ladder. I think I could jump.
I don't want to see
Maui
that.
Brooke could jump.
Maui Brooke. I like that. I like Maui Brooke. I feel like you should tell the story of your grandpa because we just said, oh boy.
Like him.
Because
what's the story?
Wasn't it like something to do with the wedding? Smell like a rose.
Oh, our wedding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's going to be. I'm
going to butcher it a little bit. The specifics.
I'm proclaiming today that boy,
is it
smelling like a rose.
I'm going to come out.
Are going to
like
be lexicons in the butt clencher community.
Okay. Well, I would say these more too if I knew people understood it. So my grandfather, my mom's dad, lived to be a fantastic 96, I believe. His mother lived to be 103. No.
I'm definitely going to die before you.
105 because she lived in 3 centuries. So she needs those 5 years where she was 3 years into the.
That's wild.
8. No, it's always off.
The 20th century, 21st century.
So she was in the 19th century, even though it was the 1800s.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. Came over on a boat from England. Crazy. Went back to high school when she was like, to get her degree when she was 70 something. Anyway. So she did. She was 105, but she lived in 3 because she passed away in 2002. So she made it by 2 years.
She was born in 1897
or 8. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine what she witnessed happen in the world between that time and when like the advancements and maybe anybody from anybody spanning that amount of time would feel that way. But I just feel like those 105 years specifically are like insane.
Pretty revolutionary. Because all advancements now seem to be like technology based. They're all in this sort of same.
Right.
But it was like.
She literally came over on a ship from England and by the end was like texting on an iPad. I just am like, what?
Wow. Grandma's got an iPad.
Anyway, my grandpa, wonderful man.
There are a few people that I wish were still alive to see and visit us on Maui. Your grandpa's one of them, and my grandpa's one of them.
Yes, 100%.
I just feel like they would have come.
Yeah.
They would have come and visited and stayed with us, and that would have been such like a rich, kind of intimate experience with them.
Yeah. So I could do a whole episode on him. But so for me and T, from our wedding.
Are you calling me T now?
Sometimes I do. I say, hey, T, all the time.
That doesn't feel right.
I don't think I say me and T very often because that kind of sounds rhymey.
Me and T.
Me and T.
Kicking it again.
We got some big clap energy. Okay.
In first grade, I just went by T.
I know.
I cut the J.
Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, in kindergarten, I went by Theodore because that's when you learn how to write your name.
Yeah.
And I didn't just want to write TJ. And I think I got burned out.
Oh, for sure.
And then I just cut it to T.
Way too long.
But then in first grade, I also won student of the year at the elementary
So maybe
school.
they correlated.
So,
you didn't spend all your time writing your name.
I wasn't writing that J, so I had so much time to do other things.
Anyway, for our wedding favors were jars of honey from my grandpa's hives. So we had these tiny little jars with these cute little labels. Can't remember what they said, but it was cute and clever.
It was just so cute.
It was so cute. And they were all stacked up, and that's what you picked up on your way out. And so I was not there for all of the conversations surrounding the amount of honey needed, but it was something to do with it's one of the, I'm even going to butcher it. It was one of those scenarios where we were doing two different types of math, and Grandpa fully understood the weight we needed and the jars we were filling. It's one of us was almost inches and centimeters or something, where you're
I was hoping you would get there for a second.
You're like,
it looked like you were going to make it inches and pounds.
Well, maybe. Exactly. It was just two different forms of math were happening in Grandpa's.
You guys are talking about the jars, I think, and how many jars you need. And he's going to give you honey in bulk.
There was a confusion. And so my mom and I were so confident in our math. And the whole time he's confident in his math because he knows he's right.
Yeah.
And we were just not quite getting there. And so he was just he just couldn't wait for us to figure out that we were wrong. And so after all of our explaining, no, don't you understand that blah, 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 and the jars hold this much, and we have this many jars, and blah, blah, blah.
And you're buying it from him.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, because that's why he got so excited, because you were going to buy too much.
That's what it was. And he just was giddy and beside himself, and I can picture his rosy little face sitting there saying, oh boy, why I'm gonna come out smelling like a rose. He was so pumped. We ended up figuring out the correct math then and paid him appropriately and all the things, but
we say boy a lot because that was a Grandpa thing.
Yeah, good
times. Okay, so
before we get started,
do you have any questions for me before we get started? Question one. I have a lot of questions. How dare you? Do I have that one?
I don't know. I was gonna.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
I don't think I do.
Okay.
I was going to ask you what you're reading.
We could also
and then I don't know if we want to talk about that yet.
This question.
What are we doing?
Yeah. And I was going to steal Oprah's question. Tell me about what's on your nightstand. Yeah.
Well, joke's on you. My nightstand is being used as a tripod right now.
It's that camera. That is what's on your nightstand. I was what other questions can I ask?
Okay. So I'm going to ask Brooke how her week is, but then I'm going to answer the question. How's your week?
I don't get to answer?
No, you can just, but I want to tell the story.
Oh, my week was great.
Okay.
Right?
Here's what happened.
We started out friends.
It was cool.
But it was all pretend. No, it really was great. I feel like I'm even more self-conscious to say again this week, hey, we're all still kind of sick, but we're coming out of it.
No, you and Sonny are still sick.
Yeah, it's true. It's not all of us. June is totally fine. Daisy's, ow, I just punched the wall when I said that. I think I scratched some paint off.
Yeah. Well done.
Anyway, that was my week.
Yeah.
But that wasn't all my week.
No. So last week, or maybe a week and a half ago, maybe not even then,
No, it would have been about then because I was this weekend or next weekend?
Yeah. Okay.
So we needed enough time for me to say that.
I get a direct message on Instagram that says, and this is a message we've gotten quite a few times. Hey, where should we stay in Maui? To most of the time, I'm like, I don't know. We stay in our house. So it's hard for me to give you a good advice.
Is there 2 of you? Are there 12 of you?
Yeah.
What's your budget? Do you have a car? Where are you flying from? How long are you staying? So many questions
for me to just basically give an answer.
Yeah.
So I get this message. Hey, we're coming to Maui for our anniversary.
We're trying
to just for the weekend. Do you guys have any suggestions on where we could stay, or could we stay with you? LOL. And so I click over this person's profile and I'm like, they seem normal. And so I turned the phone around to Brooke and I said, hey, these people are wondering if they could stay at our house.
And I'm like in our house, downstairs, in our room.
And fully expecting Brooke to say, no, are you kidding me? Get out of here.
Honestly, where does it end with you people?
So she's like, I don't know. Let me see him. And so she looked at her Instagram. She's like, oh, I think I follow this girl.
I do.
On Easy Pretty Clean. I've seen this stuff before.
Well, I didn't know that much. I just said, I've seen some of these reels.
Okay.
This person looks familiar.
Yeah.
So I must follow her on Easy Pretty Clean.
So Brooke, to my surprise and shock, is like, sure. And I'm like, okay, are you feeling okay? Must be you're not getting enough
Hey,
sleep.
I'm sick. You just ask me whatever you want. Sick Maui Brooke doesn't
Sick
care about
Brooke's
anything.
jumping out windows and so I say, hey, you can stay with us.
Sure. Why not?
You guys seem normal, like, and so a week and a half later they showed up.
Bing bong.
Bing bong. They were here. We spent a few days with them, went to the beach, hung out. They did their own thing. They used our minivan.
They ate dinner with us. We all started watching a show together.
We did.
And then the next day
they
said,
watched episode 2 without us.
I said the next morning they got back from whatever they were doing. By the afternoon, hey, you guys been thinking about the show? Because that's how I know I like a show.
Yeah.
If I watch episode 1 or 2 and then the next day I'm still thinking about it, I'm into it.
Yeah.
But I've seen many episodes 1 and 2 and I don't ever think about it again, which means I just don't care. And I kept thinking about it.
So you asked them.
So I brought it up to our new friend group and they were like, oh, we already watched episode 2. I was like, so TJ's already watched it.
Well,
you'd watched it originally.
I
That's
watched
how
it
you
on
even
Sabbath.
Told us to watch
and
it.
I was like, man, I think this is a show we could get into.
Right.
It's called Silo on
Yeah.
Apple TV.
Yeah.
First 2 episodes are really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Leaving me behind.
So they showed up
Down in the silo.
and
Alone.
we're getting to know them at our
What are you giggling
at our
about?
kitchen counter.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know. And one of them looks up, they're like, so how many people have you let stay in your house like this? And I was like, 1, you guys right here. And I was like, I don't know if it was just Brooke's mood or if like just the Lord was like, yeah, this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
I don't know the reason why, but we did it. And it ended up being, we've been having this conversation for probably like 3 months of what is so obviously we sell t-shirts.
Yeah.
We have the podcast.
Yeah.
We have our social media. We do a lot of digital stuff. We've added the live events, which we've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And we've talked about what is the sort of next thing that we can do with our audience.
What's not extra like bonus extras and it doesn't count, but like what's an additional in-person thing that we could pursue, and what do we want that to look like, and what season are we in personally, and so like what do we have the capacity for that to look like?
And so obviously I'm talking
lots of conversations swirling around that.
And I'm talking to Jeff and Jeremy and Brad, because Jeff and Jeremy do this, they do integrated, which has been really amazing,
Right.
obviously, for all of us here. They also do something called Family Teen Camp, where they Jeremy leads that up. He goes to vacation. He goes to Florida with his family.
Yeah.
And then rents a giant house, and then people go and stay
Come
with
on
him.
vacation with them. Yeah.
And so it's like dive deep with Jeremy, but you also get to go to Disney World, and it's like, win, win, win. And then the Ghost Runners just did a vacation in Florida.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to Brad all about that, seeing how it went. And he was like, oh, so good. And so we've been having these conversations about like, what does that look like? And so one day I was like, well, a lot of our hesitation ends up being on like, we have to travel so far to even do one of those things.
Yes.
And so how do we do that with kids and with people? Like it just becomes
It's just a lot.
a tangle.
I'm not like, we're going to drive 2 hours to this Airbnb and people are going to meet us there.
Yeah.
If you really need me, call me and I'll come home and help the kid. Like it just doesn't work like that when you live on an island.
And so I said, why don't we just say yes to these people now that
Yeah.
you've already said it and I've already said it, and just see like if it's totally weird or if it goes really well, and we're like, hey, we could probably do that.
Right.
And people are coming to us. And so it went really well.
Yeah.
They were chill. And so we are doing something that I think is surprising us, but I also think it's like,
well, we were talking in the car the other
Yeah.
day about how I don't know if Sunny was born, right? When we were having conversations, we were looking at certain properties. This was a long time ago. Certain conversations.
when we first moved here, or even in Pennsylvania.
No, even in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
With like like we were looking at certain locations to live or move or properties to buy with literally the criteria in mind of like, we want people to be able to come and stay with us.
Yeah.
We blah, 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 blah. Like we had this whole list and I'm like, here we are here.
Yeah.
Everything on the list we were like an airport within 20 minutes of us. Like we literally had all these specific things. And I'm like, holy cow, it's this house.
Yeah. And we have really been sort of feeling like, man, the Lord has really put it on our hearts to like help people find rest and peace. And Maui is such a magical place to do that. And we've experienced that firsthand. We've taken trips here.
Even not living here, we had come here twice, come to Hawaii in general 3 times, Hawaii 3 times, Maui specifically twice.
And Maui really like
twice. And even if I never moved, they were it really impactful trips.
Yes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to open up our guest room for people to come and stay with us.
Yeah.
As simple as that. We have an application. This is going to be super limited thing that we do. Obviously, it's not like we're just going to open the doors and run a hotel.
Right.
It's going to be super limited. But the goal is to have you, beautiful butt clenchers, come stay with us, and we can hang out and we can go to the beach, and we're still going to do our normal lives.
Right.
But if you want to eat dinner with us, you can. If you want to go out, that's fine. I think ideally we're just looking for like couples that want to do a getaway 100%. Type trip.
Yeah.
We are sort of open to the idea of a family coming, but it's gonna
your chances go way down if you're like, I want to come with my whole family.
Yeah.
Not because we don't love your family, but because I'm trying to protect our girls a little bit in just the constant slew of kids.
Yeah.
We already have. The other day, Junie was like, Mom, ask me how many cousins I have. And I was like, okay, how many cousins do you have? That's so sweet when kids do that. They literally need you to ask them, out loud. So they can, instead of just saying, hey, Mom, I was thinking about. Anyway, how many cousins do you have? Well, I have 22. I have 17 on Dad's side, which I actually think it's more than that.
Yeah.
Maybe not if you take out the 3 of them, I guess, because they're not cousins. Anyway, I have 5 on yours. And so the math on that is, and she was just so cute.
Yeah.
Anyway, I say all that to say, we already have a lot of kids coming through our house. And so that's the main reason that we're like, let's offer it to couples who want to, I feel like a lot of couples, I'll speak for ourselves, like not so much right now because we live here, but in the past it was like, yeah, it's our anniversary. Like, let's go do that. Mm-hmm. Let's get away. Let's go somewhere for a couple nights. Let's make this thing. Let's celebrate. And then there's like 5,000 possibilities and there's a lot of stuff to figure out, and it fizzles because it's like you're overwhelmed by all the things you have to figure out. And so I think one of the beautiful things about traveling so far to come here is that once you get here, it's not that every decision is made for you, but it's that like every decision I think feels so much easier because you've done the harder part, which is just getting here, which really isn't that hard. It's not like scary hard. It's just long.
Yep.
And then that's my hope, that when people come, they really feel rested and like, I'm up for whatever, whether I go to the beach or I do this right now, or I drive up the mountain or whatever, that like some of the decisions feel easy and relaxing. And because of that, it allows for more conversations, more contemplation, more reflection. Like, you and I have gotten into some of our best, it's a whole episode about the life-changing habit of travel or practice of travel, because it shakes you up a little bit, and then you get to have these really awesome conversations while also experiencing something you've probably never experienced before.
So all the detail, there's an application because we can't just allow anybody. And what it includes and the price and all that kind of stuff is in the show notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're hoping we're going to try it for 6 months or 7 months. I've got it till next June, sort of the dates picked out.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're just like,
I do miss interacting with our audience and our people, and it used to happen so much more naturally when we lived mainland, and we either had a store or we just saw people. Like we saw people at a church, or we saw people somewhere, and that happens less and less here. Although
it happened in Costco the other day. Someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, are you TJ from Walk in Love?" And I'm like literally cutting a hot dog with like, I'm more ripping a hot dog into pieces, and I'm like, yeah, I am.
With 3 kids with you.
And he's like, oh, my sister, or she's like, my sister is such a huge fan of the podcast.
Yeah.
Can I FaceTime her? And I was like, sure, let's do it.
Costco hot dog and all.
And so I FaceTime her. I couldn't hear her, so I can't say her name because I can't remember it. It was too loud, but it did happen here. And it happened at Akamai one time too.
Yeah.
And June and Sunny and Daisy always recognize me, so that's amazing.
Basically every day.
Yeah, basically every day.
No, but I don't even mean getting recognized. I just meant like
just talking to people and interacting.
Actually getting to know people who feel like they know us. It's very enjoyable to have it go the other way as well.
So
I'm kind of surprised, but I'm also not when I think about like the road, the conversations that have landed us here. And
just that like we were given that gift of like a purpose and a reason to come. And so like if your reason is like
invited.
You just want to hang with us and Maui's the bonus, or you want to come to Maui and we're the bonus, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then I think that there's like a lot of value too in like you'll stay in our home and see how we do life. We were sitting on the couch watching the first episode of Silo and
making this communal pact to watch at the same pace.
I thought we were going to watch at the same pace, but we were betrayed. And Sunny comes out and is like, I'm tired. Like out of
not wanting to go to bed.
Not wanting to go to bed. Put her back down, come back out, and they're like, man, it's really encouraging to see that it's just not just our kids.
Oh,
and so there's an element of just seeing someone in their natural life to be inspiring and to just see like little tips and tricks and things like that. Yeah. And so that's really cool. And then obviously we have all the beach stuff. We have paddle boards. We have surfboards. We have beach chairs. Like you just don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. We have a full kitchen. You can eat with us if you want. Or you can just use our room as a place to sleep and
go out the back door on your own. And
so we're doing it. We're super stoked.
Wow.
And we hope to see you guys soon. First one's in August. If anybody's like
can make it, can figure it out that fast.
That bold.
Yeah.
So
I love it. It's hot here in August, but it's fun.
It's fun. You can come to the gym with me if you want.
Oh boy.
So that was.
So before we get started, let's talk. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
we just for the rest of the episode.
Now let's get started.
Yeah.
But before we do that. Okay. So last week we decided we told you we were going to talk about the Seacrest collection, and
we did in terms of like it's available this time.
And I'm saying Seacrest, not Seacrest, like Ryan Seacrest. I don't know why we would name a collection
the Seacrest collection.
But like, how we've told people to message us Seacrest? Some people
more than
one has mentioned us.
Messaged us Seacrest.
Seacrest, like
Ryan.
Or like a C and then a crest.
The Seacrest collection. Seacrest. What's that game?
Are you saying see the world or Sea World?
Exactly. What's that game where you don't really know what you're saying? It's like all gibbered together, and you have to read it really fast over and over until you hear it,
again,
or until your teammate hears it or whatever. Yeah. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I don't remember the name, but it's funny.
Yeah. So we were going to talk about this last week, but we kind of got derailed, and I think the conversation we had was really awesome and amazing. I was encouraged by it at least. So at least one of us was.
Yeah, no, I was. Okay. I've actually thought about it. I feel like I have some additional thoughts, but I don't really want to derail this episode into that one.
The Seacrest collection. We got our cheat sheet here. We got all of our stickers.
Oh, there's 8 here. We've been saying 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You're counting this one twice.
Why'd you do that?
I don't know. I guess I put all the rest of the piles over there.
Oh, guys, there's 7 designs. Nobody panic.
So, what? How do I Schwabbity. What design right now might be speaking to you on a deeper level, or that you've been thinking about, or that you've been seeing, or I guess that's my question for the day of what is the reminder that you can wear that we're producing this collection that you feel like you need to wear, or that you probably should wear but you don't want to wear.
Because then I have to think about it.
For me, I'll go first if you want me to.
Sure.
So for me, it's this one.
That might be second on my list.
I'm the vine, you are the branches. I definitely have a hard time abiding. Like, I don't want to sit still very often. I don't want to just like be in. I don't want to practice solitude.
Yeah.
I don't
want to practice silence.
I don't want to practice silence. I have trouble praying for longer periods of time than maybe 4 minutes.
Right.
And so to picture Jesus as the vine and me as the branches and having to abide in him is definitely something that is very challenging for me. And so to see it is convicting. And so that's the one that, to me, as we kind of start wearing these items, it's weird. We get all the items, we're super stoked, and then we hang them all, we steam them all and hang them all up, and we don't really wear them because I'm like, I don't want to get them sweaty.
Right. I can't fully wear them in my life.
So we put them on for the podcast.
Until we were done with like making the reels and doing the stuff.
And so I find myself sort of excited to wear it, but also kind of nervous to wear it because I'm just like, oh man, that's tough. That's going to be tough for me. I want to find the full reference and read it.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
We talked about it a little bit in some of the Home Joy stuff, but just the more like being productive like a tree, and like the organic metaphors. And so that's why this one was second on my list, because I do love the reminder of like being connected and this source of that, like, I don't just become a Christian and then I'm over here on my own trying to like figure it out and be filled up and have the power and have like, I'm not like on a little island,
right,
that like I am connected to the source of it all. And that's why I literally love the design too, the actual pattern of it.
So it's from John 15. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself. Unless it abides in the vine, neither can you, unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me, and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers, and the branches are gathered, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you abide in me, and my word abides in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, so prove to be my disciples. And so when I read that, two things that pop out to me. One is, it's a little scary. Am I going to be cut away and thrown into the fire? Definitely feel that fear.
Really?
On some level. I don't think I believe that I am secure in Jesus.
Right.
There's
not
an
in
element
that sense,
of like,
but in like the
it
missing out on not like, oh, your best life, but like on all he has to offer. On the fullness of life? Is that what you're afraid
No,
of?
there's an element of it that's like, I don't know. There's definitely references in scripture where he's like, get away from me. I'm going to act like I never knew you. And I don't want to be that person, and so there's just that always stands out to me because I don't think modern Christianity is really like ever hit with that. Like if someone starts preaching on that, you're like, gosh, turn or burn, we get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, there is some truth to that.
Right.
So it's in the word of God. So what are you laughing at?
No, just you.
No.
Like, yeah, that is how culture's like, whoa, whoa.
Let's not step on anybody's toes.
Yeah.
Obviously not you, but someone maybe exactly like you could, and so there's an element of like the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And so I feel that fear of the Lord. Like I read that passage and I'm like, that's a little scary. It's a little butt clenchy for me. So that's the first thing that stands out to me. And then the second is, and this is always really hard for me. Hold on, where is it? Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away.
Okay.
That part. And then every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes that it may bear more fruit.
Right.
That is not an easy verse to read.
Right.
Because
but it's literally like gardening 101.
Of which we've just started.
Like you do that on purpose so that it does bear more fruit.
Yeah.
It's a real practice.
And I love that practice
like,
for you. Or for
I love that for you.
I love that for you and for the watermelons and the cucumbers that we're growing.
Yeah.
But I don't love it for me. And so I feel that that's why this is a challenge wear, and it's a reminder that I desperately need, because I find myself being, I can sway so heavily to like, oh, things aren't going my way. I guess God doesn't love me, or I guess I'm unworthy, or I guess I don't matter, or I can feel all those things. And it's like, well, maybe I'm just being pruned, so that I can bear more fruit. Maybe the kids that I have made me step into a pruning season where I'm pruning some of the qualities that I've acquired over life, and they're kind of showing them to me.
Yeah.
And so those are the two things that stand out to me, and those are the two things that I find myself challenged by as I read that verse and as I see it on the shirt and the sticker, that like, oh yeah, because I think naturally I'm very good at thinking that I'm the vine, and that maybe June and Sunny are the branches, like I can, or that my business and are the branch.
You could go into that and like, you could use that metaphor if you wanted as like your family tree and like blah, blah, blah. But from what we're talking about.
But I think sometimes, we all are guilty of sort of putting ourselves on the throne in our lives. And so to read that and to, know that this is what it's referring to, it's definitely a challenge of dying to oneself, living for someone else other than myself. And that is not easy to do. And that sometimes feels very difficult. And sometimes just feels frustrating that I wish it was easier. I find myself feeling that a lot in life. I wish it was just easier.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be
nice?
nice?
Right time.
Yeah. Right place, right time. Free donuts for all. So yeah, that's the one that kind of just pops out to me.
Well, the one that I'm picking that stands out to me right now surprises me a little bit, because we've had it for a long time, and I actually don't know if I've ever kept an item that says it, which is the do not worry. I don't mean that I've never kept it like I don't like it. I actually love this handwriting and design. But I don't know. Whatever items we put it on, I must like the other colors. And like, I don't know if I've ever really held on to one.
Which is funny because we've had it on a lot of stuff.
We have, yes.
I mean, you just held on to
I
the
have other things that say do not worry.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, but I mean this specific design. Because like the tea of the month says it.
Yeah,
and,
sold out.
I've got that in 3 sizes because I love it so much. But I was reading recently, I to be honest, I don't exactly know how I'm tying this in. Okay. Although it was like a light bulb, like, didn't know that.
Yeah.
Never paid attention to that before. I'm going to have to start paying attention to that in my life. And I bet that will make a difference. I was reading recently about the difference between a fear, a worry, and anxiety.
What book? People are going to ask
the three difference. Raising Worry-Free Girls by Sissy Goff. Okay. Fantastic. Everything she does. And David Tom, that whole crew of people writing books in Nashville does is fantastic. So she's talking about how a fear is, oh my word, you actually jumped a little bit. Oh, my insides. You're so mean. You didn't think it would work though, and it did. A fear is typically something very specific. And again, she's talking about kids, but as I'm reading this book and highlighting, I'm like, hit me as a kid, it me now with different coping skills. Like, still me though. Naturally pretty predispositioned towards like, what if worried type thinking. And so a fear is typically something very specific. Like for kids, I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of spiders. I'm afraid of whatever. It's like you can name
the government infringing on my rights.
Right. I'm afraid of exactly. Okay. And one thing that I love that stood out was she was just talking about how like fears like that are very normal for children.
Yeah.
They're actually very developmental. Like what the different things that they fear, again, they're always specific because it's a fear, like from when they're like infants to then when they're toddlers to when they're in elementary school. And then by middle school, they're afraid of peers not liking them. They're afraid of, whatever, all the way up like till you grow up. Now, worry is
sharks
is something, right. Worry. So like, if you can see my hands and if you're even not like, I'm going to like, you could do it in circles, I guess, or just like the scope of something getting wider, but fear is very specific.
Okay.
And then with worry, you start to go a little bit wider.
Okay.
You're worried about.
So when you're living in fear, you have blinders on, and all you can see is that thing that you're afraid of. Or
yes, I don't know if it's blinders as much as like if somebody says, "Oh, I'm really afraid of," it's usually more specific and it's narrowed down.
Okay.
It's not like and we'll get there. It's like just, yeah. So then worry is just a little bit broader. You're worried about your worry encompasses a little bit more.
Okay.
And then by the time you get to like, because in this book, she's really talking about like kids with like anxiety disorders, which I do not believe any of our girls have it. I'm just reading the book because all of it is so helpful for the book. Yeah. And we naturally have a little worrier, I think. But she's an actual like counselor, therapist. And she's telling us this scale, this fear to then worry to then like full blown anxiety. And by the time we get to anxiety, we start saying things like I am or I have. I am anxious. I have anxiety. It becomes who we are.
An identity.
It's a very much an identity, this very wide thing that encompasses anything that we're afraid of or worried about. Instead of this like, no, I'm actually just afraid of heights. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. And I'm just fearful about these things. We let it be this, not let it happens, this like all encompassing. And I just never heard that progression. And then when she was saying that fears are very normal and developmental and like 99.9% of everybody works through those fears. Like it's just part of it. They learn after enough time, they don't need to be afraid of the dark. They learn after enough time, their friends aren't going to stick around, or whatever. Yeah. And then by the time it creeps into anxiety and we switch it to be this, like, it is who I am. I just think about how powerful your identity is. And when your identity is wrapped up in that, how I feel like almost that's the blinders. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's not, because I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's becoming all consuming, but then there is an element where it's like it totally consumes you, that you almost have tunnel vision about your life.
Yes, about who you are.
I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this because I have anxiety or because I'm an anxious person.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're afraid of heights. Like I'm afraid of heights.
Yes.
That becomes like, well, I can go on a run. I can go in the ocean. I can do all these things.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do that thing because I'm actually afraid of it.
Yeah.
Where I feel like anxiety works the opposite way, where you're like, because of this anxiety, now I'm afraid of going on a run, going in the ocean, everything, because it just has all consuming.
And I didn't know we were going to talk about this. I really wish I had the book in front of me. Yeah, she's just talking about how like anxiety is a disproportionate, I'm going to butcher it a little bit, a disproportionate, it's hard to say, response to something. Like, so what you're afraid of or your fear or your worry is way bigger than it really is.
Yeah.
And then you have way less trust in yourself than you should. Mm-hmm. And so it's this imbalance of like, this is awful meets I've never gotten through it before. No remembering of the lion and the bear. Like no trust in yourself, no trust in your ability. And that's where I was like, highlight.
And do you feel that?
Me. Only when I read it through that lens, which I believe is totally accurate, do I see like when I feel anxious, like I'll use that, like this swirling, overwhelming anxiousness, not just worried, like, oh, I'm worried the kids won't like her. Or I'm worried about, about this and about that, or about them not having fun. Did they like the meal? Like that's a worry, but this like all encompassing, I can't climb out of it anxiety is usually when I've overestimated the threat or the fear. I don't have an example right now. Let's pretend building our new website, which I actually have zero anxiety over at all, but I'm going to use that as my example. I've made a monster of it. I've built it up in my head to be this thing that is so big and awful and anxious and it's never going to work and it's going to fail and I'm not going to do a good job and blah, blah, blah. But right there, I'm not going to do a good job. I'm now feeding into the zero trust that I've ever done it before. I'm not remembering that like I'm actually brave and strong and I can do all these things. I'm competent. And so it's this, when you get to the anxiety, it's this like shift or the scales become like
even more off balance.
Off balance. You have zero, and that's what she's teaching in this book. Like your worried girl has zero trust in herself and she's overestimating the problem. And so I believe what is going to be taught.
And we see that in one of our kids.
And I believe what is going to be taught is like, and what she's even said a little bit is like the way to, it's hard to just tell a kid, hey, don't overestimate that. It's not as scary as you think.
Right.
Because somebody tells that to me and I'm like, I got some choice words for you right now. Like, what do you mean?
Spicy Maui Brooke's going to jump out a window on top of you.
Yeah. Like, yeah. No, but what we need to do is teach them to remember, teach them to keep track of and remember, like, no, you've done this. You can do this. Here's where you're brave. Here's where you're strong. Here's where all these things. All this to say. This That's jumps good. Out at me, the do not worry design, because I'm realizing, I kind of said it, that like, I'm still, I don't know if I'd say anxious all the time. Like that feels too all encompassing. I think I can get there, especially postpartum, especially when some just like other things in life are happening. I can slip into that pretty easily. I think most of the time I just land in the more worried what if. Like, oh no, what if, just like these cycles. But being able to recognize that I'm still in them a little more than I thought. Like I could see little Brooke when I was reading that. It's gonna make me cry. I think I say that every episode. There's a splice. Yeah. Every time I say it's gonna make me cry from like all 160 episodes.
I'm not gonna edit that together, but that sounds like a great idea.
It sounds like a great.
Someone wants to do it for me.
A couple things. Like it makes me really grateful that I do have more awareness and better coping skills than I did as a kid, which that's not like a, hey kid, Brooke, you should have known. Like not at all. I don't mean it like that. Because the kids are going to do everything they can with what they've been given. Yep. Right? Naturally, through God, through their parents, whatever. Like, I mean, given in the broad sense. But then also, like we as parents have such power to help to give our kids more gifts and tools in this area. And so, yeah, I just like, and I don't think I ever have, but I don't want to ever speak over my kids that that's their identity. Oh, you're just a really anxious kid. Yeah. You really have a lot of anxiety, or they're in the room and I'm talking about them. Yeah. Oh man, does she struggle with anxiety? Yeah. Like I do not want to, because now we're talking identity instead of like, she's afraid that if she wears this shirt and it's the wrong one that her friend doesn't have, like, no. Like that is not. Yeah. And so I don't ever want to do that.
And it takes a kid like 17 times to hear something before they start to believe it.
Oh, I would imagine it's less than that.
It's about 17, I think scientifically, 16 or 17.
Yeah.
And so you think of, one, all the crap that they're hearing.
Yeah.
But two, like if you as a parent who has more authority in their lives are talking about how anxious your kid is and they're a room over or sitting at the same kitchen table. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anxious. It can be anything, how mad they get or how angry they are, how frustrating they can be, or how, and
speaking any sort of like identity like that over them or in front of them. Anyway, it's not like, and my parents never did that. They were never like, Brooke, you're so anxious. Like they didn't speak that over me at all. And I still really struggled with it. But yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit, but this one stands out because I'm recognizing how much worry I do still have, even though my coping skills and tools, that's not bad. It's not like a repression coping skill, but like a legitimate coping skill is way better, but that I still have a lot of room for growth, especially if I want to bring my girls along in the direction that I'm headed. Yeah. And so.
Yeah. And so a phrase that we say a lot is, remember the lion and the bear. And so that's a reference to David when he fought Goliath. He remembered that he fought a lion and he fought a bear to save his sheep. And so oftentimes I think when that imbalance happens, we've totally forgotten the lion and the bear. Yeah. And we often think like Goliath is even bigger than he is. Yeah. And so a lot of things that we try to do with our girls is we try to remind them a lot about the lions and the bears. And so like today's a great example. There was a special ab class at the gym.
Oh boy,
and so I went,
workout.
I went and I took all 3 girls because we've been on this sort of different work schedule where Brooke needs a lot more computer time. So I'm trying to just take the girls out of the house because they'll just default come to you when they need something. And so we went to the gym and, it was fun. It was great. But June really...
it was a 30-minute ab class, was it?
It was... Thankfully, like Daisy was jumping on me. So like I kind of had an out to stop at times, which I was thankful for.
Smart. Always take your toddler so you don't have to work as hard.
Yeah. And so... But she's really wants to learn how to climb the rope because after everyone is kind of dispersed, I take the ropes down and she swings from them.
June not
does.
Daisy.
June does, yeah.
The 8-year-old,
And so I just keep telling her to remember how she used to struggle hanging on the bar and now she can.
Yeah.
And it's like we just have to keep reminding them of the lions and the bears in their lives.
Yeah, of the progress they've made because it's easy to forget.
Because she'll quickly... Maybe not quickly, but she could just
sometimes
be like, I could never climb this rope because I can hear myself saying that about literally about climbing that exact rope. And now I can,
yeah.
But at first I was just like, oh man, maybe once,
yeah.
And now there's workouts where we do it a dozen times.
Yeah.
And so I just think as we deal with our worry and we try not to worry ourselves.
Yes. Which this book also touches on big time.
We need to have language and encouragement to our kids that doesn't just say, hey, don't worry.
Correct.
Don't worry about that.
That's not a tool. That's a command.
Yeah.
Or a statement.
And instead just be like, remember how you used to not be able to hold on to the bar and now you can shimmy across it? The same thing is going to happen with the rope.
Right.
We just got to get there.
Yeah.
And you got to wear shoes.
Right. I know. I keep telling her, wear your sneakers and you'll be able to do a better job. That's footwear 101, child.
That's good, bro.
So I don't, I'm not... Yep. I'm not too far in the book. I have read portions of it before, and I was like, "Why am I doing this?" She wrote it in an order on purpose.
Right.
So I'm going back and rereading. I'm reading it all and then rereading some of the stuff, and so I'm not very far in my first time, but also reread. And that's just really what stood out. This like, man, I was not. I would have lumped fears, worries, and anxieties all into the same category. And they are in a broader sense in the same like style of category,
but they would have just been in one pot.
Yes. And so I also want to listen when my kids say like, oh, Mom, at bed, like I'm afraid that there's something under my bed.
Yeah.
To realize that that's language I'm afraid of, I'm fearful of. We're in this first very normal category instead of projecting my own stuff onto it and being like, oh, this is such a worried child. She's going to be like this her whole life. What are we going to do? I have to get this under control now.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not that at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually normal and natural for them to progress
really
through all those fears.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're almost out of time. But I think what I love about this collection, obviously it's ours, so I'm kind of biased. But when we were trying to find out what a name for it, I was just looking at all the designs and Seek Rest just kind of bound, it's literally on one of the designs. It's a promise on another one of the designs, not worrying is part of that. Abiding in the vine I think it's restful.
It's on 2. I will give you rest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But literally it says Seek Rest.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
that's what
sorry.
I'm saying. But I think what I'm realizing as I age is how powerful rest is, how radically it can change your entire life. It is so powerful and amazing, and it's one of the best gifts we've been given. God could have created us never to have to sleep. We could have been 24/7 beings.
Yeah.
But he created us to rest and to sleep. And when we do that and when we step into that fully with Sabbath and with good night's sleep and with, healthy rhythms and routines, we unleash a power in our lives like nothing else.
Yeah.
It is so cool and it is so amazing. And so one thing we've been doing lately, we're doing this token system with our girls right now. You get a token for chores and for
you get a token for a variety of things, but we're using them specifically to be redeemed for screen time. Yeah. Either they're choosing their iPad or not an iPad to play on or Mario Kart or
a show
whatever.
Or something like that. And so I tell them, I said, I'll give you a token if you take a nap.
Yeah.
Like I'll give
I actually think you said 2 or 3 tokens.
Because I want them to know that rest is super valuable. I want that because
I just wrote a whole thing today. I could go so deep into this, but we're already at 55 minutes.
And so I hope that whatever design you end up getting from the collection, and we do hope that you pick one out. I certainly hope that you really pursue that idea of seeking rest, because we don't default to rest.
No.
It doesn't just happen naturally. We don't find stillness and solitude just on our own. I mean, maybe some of you are out there are amazing at it, and that's really awesome and amazing.
Right.
But for the most of us,
for you.
I love that for you. I would love that for me too. But it doesn't happen naturally. And so we do have to seek it, and
that's active.
Yeah. And that's why it's
thing.
part of our family motto is like, we seek rest. We work hard and then we seek rest, because if we don't, we'll just seek entertainment, or we'll seek, consumption, or we'll just seek some other behaviors and call it rest. But what we really want to do is seek that good, deep rest that we find in Jesus. And so I hope that this collection helps remind you of those things.
Yeah.
What day is it?
Today?
I think we got to do the code.
Oh, we didn't do a code yet?
No.
Oh boy. Okay.
Oh
boy. Is that the code?
That's
smelling like a rose.
Smelling like a rose.
Smelling with a G? Smelling? We don't say smelling. We say smelling.
Smelling.
But people got to remember how to spell that. Smelling. SMELLIN. Like a rose. All one phrase.
Code. Or boy.
Just the word boy.
Yeah.
Or oh boy.
What do you think it should be?
Well, boy makes it seem just like gender.
Well,
but girl, you're just like inputting words. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Telephone.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we just saying
it
words?
just feels like a random word. But oh boy feels like a phrase.
Oh boy. Okay. OHBOY.
Yeah. Or smelling like a rose.
Or smelling like a rose. We'll see which one gets more.
Oof.
Seek Rest Collection, May 18th. May 17th if you're a subscriber. Best way to support the podcast. If everyone in the podcast audience bought a shirt for them and for a friend, we'd break every record we've ever had. If you just bought one for you, we'd still break every record we'd ever had. And that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
As hopefully this podcast adds value to your life. And a great way to thank us for that value is buying a t-shirt.
By shopping. Yeah.
And telling your friends. I mean, you know that the collection's coming because you're a loyal butt clencher. Your friends might not.
Yes.
So now is the time to tell them, hey,
now is the time.
This is happening. And then for you, loyal audience members,
come to Maui.
Come to Maui.
Yeah, we're only talking about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
So y'all are the only ones who know.
It won't be on any sort of social media ever, just on the podcast. And honestly, depending on how many applicants we get, this might be the only time.
True.
You know,
we might fill up for long enough that we don't talk about it again.
So, cool, Brooke. Good job.
Krutata.
Krutata. That means very cool in Russian. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making us a part of your week.
Okay, I love you. Bye.